I'm, I'm not sure of anything.
You're not sure of anything, Gene. What are you bringing into the podcast today? How are you feeling? Did you have like a disagreement with a loved one, or maybe you're just down on yourself? You wake up in the morning, you go, "Fuck, I'm still Gene Crawford." Things like that, or
That's the most passive aggressive insult I've ever been a part of.
you're welcome.
I quit.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I feel like our intro needs to be like an extra 5 minutes just so I can prepare myself for what I'm about to go through.
I didn't even realize that was going to happen. And the worst thing about that was not the insult to you. That's just whatever. It's that
That's the best.
Dwayne Johnson sang that song better than me. Good Lord. That was horrible.
Yeah.
Whatever. How you doing? Gene, you are logoed up today, man. You got the Warrior Mindset logo.
Yeah.
T-shirt logo. You got your coffee cup logo.
You like that?
What's going on over there?
Like that?
Is that the Warrior Mindset secondary logo?
That's not mine. That's David Goggins. You know who that is?
No.
We'll have to do a whole podcast on that man animal. He's crazy.
Do you know why I said no? Because I was being honest with you, Gene. And honesty is part of transparency.
The first step in
today's episode.
It's honesty.
That's right.
No, it's transparency.
Transparency leads to trust.
Yes.
I know that.
Fear leads to hate. Hate leads to anger. Anger leads to the Sith. I don't know. I messed that up.
And
Yoda said that.
That leads to putting some sort of a battle axe on your coffee cup.
I just know I hate sand. It gets everywhere.
Good to know. I know what you've been doing.
I'm going deep on the prequel references.
I like it. Never been a Star Wars guy, really. I watch them. I like them.
You're not missing much with those prequels. So transparency, what you got, man? What makes you want to talk about transparency?
So this is something that comes up all the time. And I think it started because we're looking at all these struggles that people are having with hiring. And they are sometimes out there presenting themselves in a certain way. You know, they're trying to present themselves so that they are the place you have to say yes to.
Ooh.
But then it's not necessarily real. Even though it may feel real in the moment, it's not necessarily honest. And the best example I think I have of this is a while ago. I was when Engine went distributed, I was traveling around to different places working from different shops. I just thought this will be fun. I'll take a year and I'll go 4 or 5 different places where there are these great companies, and I'll work there and just see what that's like. And the same thing happened in almost every one. You walk in, they're giving you a tour. They open a door, turn on a light, and that's where the ping pong table or the video games or whatever is. Then they turn off the light and shut the door. Then they go on. But you go to the website and like they're sitting there playing games. But you go to the place and it's like
dust on that ping pong table.
There's an understanding, you know. Now I will say there were a couple of places that weren't like that. You know, I'll say MailChimp. When I went to MailChimp, like they were playing ping pong, you know, and also residual income. Definitely kids. If you're making millions every month, you can play a little ping pong.
Dude literally had a suit of Iron Man armor in his office. So I think he's got it figured out. Yeah.
Ben definitely did. Yeah. He had a home run with that. But so for me, it's like when you start to think about it, transparency is kind of the cornerstone.
Right.
Of not only being able to create a great culture, but being able to go home and being able to sleep at night because you didn't leave some, you know, unsaid things or, you know, end up, I don't want to say lying because that's not what it is at all. You're just not disclosing everything.
Right. And that's a form of lying though.
Okay. Then you're a bunch of liars. That's what I'm saying.
But you can use that. Tactically. You know what I mean? I've been in business with people who have used not disclosing things tactically to sort of not, I mean, I'll say it, to manipulate you, you know?
And I want to give people credit that I don't think they necessarily know they're doing it all the time.
It's sort of like gaslighting.
A little bit.
Not that it is gaslighting. I'm saying it's sort of the same effect where someone can do that on purpose because they're like, they have an agenda, or they do it because, I mean, they're just like, whatever it is, they just don't feel comfortable being transparent with, where the company is financially with their, employees, because they're scared their employees will leave or
Right.
ask for more money or whatever it is.
Well, and let's say that right now, there's such a hiring focus right now.
Okay.
There's also a retention focus, because at the same time that people are needed for the team, other people are being recruited away, and people are calling it poaching. I don't even think it's poaching at this point. It's like, if somebody is talking to your employee, I get it. They're gainfully employed and somebody is coming in and talking to them, but this is a change. This is like a complete C-level change of everything that's going on. But what I wanted to start with is transparency in the hiring process. I think is super important. And I think it also gets to acknowledging something. And we got some mail, Gene. We actually got some mail. I didn't tell you about this, but people were really into this idea that employees shouldn't stay forever. That's not like a core thing.
Right.
And it's not realistic that you should anticipate that people are going to leave.
Right. And we've talked about that before.
Yeah. And so that was a big part of this. When I was hiring at Engine, right, I would tell people when they came in, look, you're not going to be here forever. Right. You've got different goals than the company has, but we have this point in the future where we can see it intersect. So let's go to that point in the future together. Let's be open about everything and every opportunity. And when something better comes along, that's my job to make sure you leave for a better reason, right? But this leads to starting a relationship based on trust and honesty and saying what your expectations are. And then for that employee, they also know that they can then bring these opportunities to you, and you're right. We have talked about this before, but I think it goes so much deeper.
Yeah.
And that's what I really want to focus on. For example, transparency without context is dangerous because people will fill in based on their own experience. And that, I know Lullabot, I think, was one of the best shops to do this with what they called the weather report, where they would share with their employees, I think it was once a month, this kind of outlook. Hey, here's where we are financially. Here's what's in the bank. Here's what's coming in. Looks like sunny skies ahead. Hey, it might, we got some tornado warnings coming through here, and they would kind of make fun of it a little bit, but they would always make sure that they were sharing it in a way that was easy to understand.
Right. Because sometimes people don't want that. Like, there's a type of person that's like, look, I work for you so I don't have to worry about where the next paycheck's coming from. I'm doing what I'm doing. You do what you do, and you keep the money coming, and I'll keep the projects flowing.
No, that's so right.
A lot of people like that.
I remember one designer that we had that she told me, look, when the adults are done talking, will you just tell me what the F to draw? It's like, I came here to design stuff. I didn't come here to expand my mind.
Right. I didn't come here to run your company.
No, exactly.
I feel like I'm participating in it.
Bam. I did not come here to run your company. And that is the thing. It's like, people don't want to run your company, but they want to know that you are. Right? I mean, come on.
That's probably the best litmus for the way you should give information out.
That's our first spit take of the year.
Convey confidence.
So good.
Step 1, convey confidence. Step 2, don't fuck it up.
Exactly. But think about it, right? It's like, people are not going to dig into the financials, right? They don't want that. And if you tell somebody we've got $300,000 worth of money in the bank, and worth of money means we got $300,000 in the bank. I don't know what's going on with my little soliloquies here,
nice
but if you've got $300,000 in the bank and you tell the team we've got $300,000 in the bank, they're like, we're hitting Vegas, baby.
Right.
But if you tell them, hey, we've got 2 months worth of revenue of expenses in the bank. You say we've got 3 payrolls in the bank, And then you bring in, the new opportunities and you say, hey,
this gets us even more ahead. Yeah.
I know everybody hates these financial services projects, but it'll give us 2 more months, that we're clear. Or we can take that really cool project you want, and it's going to give us a half a month.
Yep.
Or we can take both.
Yep.
Right. But then people are making decisions based on understanding. And they're not sitting there thinking, we said we don't like those. Why does he keep bringing them in?
Yeah, at least they know why you're making the decisions you're making. They know your reasoning, and you don't have to defend yourself whenever they're like, well, like you say, I don't want to do that shit anymore. Like, well, it's kind of paying your mortgage. So we should probably do more of these.
Yeah, right. I mean, and that's the thing. It's if you make everybody a part of the process, that's transparency too.
Right.
And if somebody makes a decision that they want to work on something or they say they will work on something, then they've made a commitment.
That's right.
Versus if you say this is what you're going to work on next, they've taken an order.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, it's like, yeah, we work in a really liberal industry. We work in an industry where people want a lot of control. And you talk to people in professional services who work with web shops, and they'll be like, what are y'all doing?
I know, you bunch of crazy people.
You know that you give them money to do what you tell them to do, right? And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't work that way. It's like their expectations of flexibility. And actually, I like it because it means if you do it correctly, that you get your life back, or at least part of it, right? And I think that's just critical.
Anytime I've ever had for me, a significant headcount of employees, 3+, I've always felt like the inmates running the asylum. I've always felt that battle, that pull, and always the pendulum of like how transparent to be versus how to set my expectations on what I put out. I think one of the pitfalls you could fall into is that you're being transparent. You're like, I'm a good owner operator here. I'm being transparent. I'm letting them know everything. Why aren't they bought in?
Well, and maybe they are, and they're just quiet.
Right. Maybe they're like, shut up. We're doing it.
Yeah. I mean,
if you want me to wear 12 pieces of flair, just make it 12 pieces of flair. If you want me to wear 13 pieces of flair, just tell me it's 13 pieces of flair.
And if you want to be Jennifer Aniston, just let me know.
You caught that reference.
I'll call you Jen. But, no, what you're saying right there, I think is one of the most important things, because, and we'll get to my hot take later. All right. I know we got some hot takes today. I'm just going to tease it a little bit. I'm going to tease my hot take in that people want somebody to be in charge, right? And they want them to be successful. You talk about, so there's this line between transparency and oversharing, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? I am a chronic oversharer. Somebody will say, how are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know, and they're like, no.
It was rhetorical, bro.
Don't answer the question. Or somebody will say, hey, I really appreciate that you did that for me. And I'll go, as soon as I say, run for the hills, because I'm just going to start sharing stuff that you don't care about. But for me, it feels really important. And I'm working on it. I'm getting help. But when you look at transparency versus oversharing, I think you get to this point where people don't need to know how the clock works. They want to know what time it is. Right. And if you can tell them that we're okay and you can share with them what's going on, that's great. The classic overshare, I think, when it comes to companies for a lot of people is salary transparency.
Oh, yeah, that's scary.
I think it's important.
Oh, you think it's important?
I think it's important, but I think, again, it's within context. Like salary bands, like showing people, okay,
sure,
if this person's
is where
here,
this is where they are. Right.
Yeah, because then you at least have an understanding. We experimented with it. We had this idea that a group would get a raise at the same time. That doesn't work. No. That doesn't work because some people are really pushing hard and other people are sitting at the back of the cart. And so it's not fair at that point. Right. But we did get to a place where we were able to kind of share where people were and say, hey, the reason that she makes more than you is because she's really good with clients too. If you want to get to where she is, these are the things you can add. But the challenge was we were a flat organization.
Mm.
And so there really weren't a lot of levers that you could do in terms of climbing up. But the thing that I think was most important that I learned was when we would do employee surveys, when we got up closer to 40 people, we'd do employee surveys and they would say, I love it here. I love being a part of this company. This is some of the most challenging work I've ever done.
Mm.
What are we doing? That last one was just like, we didn't have any vision. We didn't have any mission. We weren't going anywhere.
Right.
At least I never told them. And that gets to be transparency too, because there's this line between I just want to draw stuff and I want to live here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to be successful, especially today, you have to accommodate both and allow people to opt in to whatever level of information they want, or just let them know that you're running the company. If they have questions, they can ask.
Right. That's probably the best outlook, the best advice that I've heard about that. There was a company, and I can't remember the name of it or how to research it because I don't know where to start, but I do remember reading an article about a company that experimented with everyone making the same amount. Well, you remember that?
Yeah, I know
it
wasn't Zappos, but it was around that same time
something
period.
Like that. Everybody made like $100,000 or something. It was like,
yeah.
Apparently the company's still around kicking ass. Even the CEO made that much or something.
Yeah, no. So here's the thing: if you say salary, then that doesn't include owner draws.
Well, no.
I'm just going to say, because as somebody who had a company where we thought if we all made 100,000, because we thought that too.
Yeah.
But you know what? It gets to the same point. Like everyone's created equal. And then through different things that happen throughout our lives, we end up in different places. Right? And so you may have one person who can create an amazing thing in 5 days and one person who can create 5 amazing things in 1 day.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a different level of value for those two people. And if the one person who's making 5 great things every day is sharing 80% of that with the rest of the group, that person's going to leave.
Right.
Or you're going to realize that you've got a star and a supporting cast, and that's going to create cultural rifts. There's like all kinds of stuff around that. Yeah. And the thing is, when everybody knows it and you don't talk about it, that's a transparency issue too.
I'll tell you something, I'll pay you a compliment. Something I've always been impressed by you. Yeah. Particularly back during the engine days was, we talk a lot about, a lot of what we talk about is just self-awareness, right? Yeah. It's like, that's the secret to life, is just be self-aware of your dipshittery. But you took it like, it wasn't self-aware. It was like self-aware of the company. Because I think that's really what we're talking about. Because we always look at, oh, well, that company's doing this and that company's doing that and that company's doing that. I want to do that. Mm-hmm. That's cool. But you are your own company. The people in your company are different. You have to design it and engineer it with the personalities and the people that are there.
Yeah.
Right. That's what works. Whenever you see successful companies, that's what they've done. They look at what they have and they work with that. They don't go, well, Sparkbox is like this, and then Engine's like this. So I want to be like Engine. So we're going to do what Engine does. Well, the people that work for you might be like, I'm a Sparkbox person, you know, and you're like, fuck.
Well, no, that's so dead on, because look, I can look at what the New England Patriots do. Oh, real quick, sports analogy warning. You may want to fast forward 5 minutes if you don't like the sports analogies. But okay, think Joe Gibbs. Think the Washington Redskins. Right. Wins 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, totally different quarterbacks, installs a different offense for each one.
That's right. Different styles of football.
It wasn't like just this is the model and we're going to reload and we're going to do the same thing. And it's the same with your team. When Engine started, we were known for illustration and animation. When we were done, we were known for doing really big database, nasty Python stuff. Right. And why?
Totally different.
Because we found that the team liked different work better. We actually, when we started, we were like 80% designers. And at the end, I don't even know maybe we were like 5%.
Like one person.
I'm sorry, Russell. I'm sorry, dude. I understand why you moved to Korea. I get it. You wanted to get away. But yeah, so that's part of it too, right? You got to go with that flow. And the only way you get there is by asking people and them feeling like they can tell you. You can see it. You can understand it. But I think the other thing that happens with transparency, and Gene, I'm leaning in my hot take now. Okay.
All right, we're going straight to your hot take.
My pod face?
I said
What
hot
did you
take.
say? Hot takes?
I said
Hot
hot
cakes?
take.
Hot cakes?
Hot cakes.
Hot cakes. Hot cakes
face.
for everybody.
Your hot face.
My hot take, Gene. Okay, so you get to transparency and you give people control and you let them start to share what they want. You let them start to guide the company a little bit. There is no such thing as a flat organization, especially if you're running digital services. And we try to act like it is. And there's two main dangers with this. Number one, the only person who's ever going to be held accountable is the owner or owners.
Well, yeah.
But you don't see it that way. Like if you're young, like I was back in the day, you think, oh, okay, you know what? No, they are the ones doing the work. They are the ones making the money. They deserve, and they do deserve a lot.
Sure.
But if somebody comes to you and says, I feel like we should get ownership in the company, I feel like we should have equity, the best reply is, I'm going to need a copy of your mortgage, your bank statements, all this, because I have to add you to the line of credit so that if we don't make payroll, you're on the hook too. If we have to go into the line of credit for like 50 grand. And, I'm not trying to be snarky here. Like I didn't see this and it really, I hurt myself.
You're right. I was a part of a business. There was 4 partners. And it was me and another partner. We kind of took the brunt of the investment. The other 2 partners didn't really, they invested a lot of sweat equity or whatever. But, and the project went on for a year. And then we had a capital call because, we needed to grow. We were going to do something else. And it wasn't quite there yet. And they couldn't make a capital call.
Yeah.
It was like, y'all, you signed up for this. Like, this is expected. It's in we talked about it. And they were like, I got to get out.
Yeah.
And it ended the project. I mean, because we were like, well, shit, I don't have that much. He doesn't have that much. We were counting on you guys.
Yeah. And that's what you have to realize. You have to realize that as an owner, you're the only one that can't leave.
Yeah.
Everybody else can jump ship. And even with the best of intentions, even total honesty and loyalty, but that's where transparency comes in too, there's a time where you have to say, look, I appreciate what y'all want. That's not what we're going to do here.
Yeah. How does that, have you ever had that conversation of like, hey, I mean, the one you're literally talking about where you're like, look, I'm actually kind of taking care of you here because while you want ownership, what I'm going to give you is profit sharing or more money or whatever. And you're not going to have the liability. And by the way, here's how liability works.
Yeah.
I mean, have you had that conversation?
No. No, I did.
Me either. I was
not in that way.
I was scared to be transparent. I was scared of it. Yeah.
I think I had it, but not in that way because I don't think I was mature enough to handle the conversation.
Same.
And I came at it from a slightly angry place.
Same. Yeah.
And, it was damaging.
Yeah.
I was not at that moment. I was not a good owner. I was scared. And, and I'll say that I think what hurts transparency the most is imposter syndrome. Right? That fear that people are going to find out that, I started this and now we're like kind of big, but I still don't know what the hell is going on. Whereas if you embrace transparency and say, hey, you know what? I know I started this.
Right.
And we're kind of big now, but I'm still kind of figuring it out.
Yeah.
Then people will appreciate that honesty. The other thing is, and this is something that I learned from Aaron Mintley at Electric Pulp. He told me, I was sending him some photos when we were getting some upgrades at the house. Like we're putting on this new deck. We were doing all this kind of stuff. He goes, why don't you share this stuff socially? And I was like, oh, I don't want the employees to see it. And he was like, they want you to be successful.
Right. That means
they don't want to see you. They don't want to see you driving around in a crappy car because they think, oh, our fearless leader can't even get a damn Honda Civic. Right. And so that to me became one of the other things about transparency is, especially in the world of social media that we live in now, share that you're winning. As an owner, don't feel like you have to hold back. Like, don't show up in a damn Lamborghini. Don't
It's
don't look like you're crushing it and not
it's
passing it
really
on. You have
interesting.
to share.
Yeah, you do, and it's funny you're talking about that very subject. The last
You
business
got a
partner I had.
Lamborghini?
No, I wish. Well, I don't actually
Damn,
want a Lamborghini.
Countach S.
That would be such a shitty car to drive around. Honestly, it'd be really hard. I mean, it'd be like,
You can't pack a lunch because you got nowhere to put it.
yeah, you can't go over speed bumps. You can't. I mean,
Yeah.
so a business partner I was involved in a project recently, he drove around in this piece of shit Dodge truck that was like, I think he bought it for $800. Like it was no speedometer, no mileage, no gas. He rode around with like a gas can in the back. Then he would just like kind of clock how far he drove. And I should probably fill up now. Yeah, and he park it like right in front of the business, And I had a conversation with him. I was like, "Hey man, why don't you this quarter take an ownership draw? We can afford a couple $1,000. Why don't you go get a nice used vehicle that's got like a paint job, it's got a speedometer, and just like park that in front, And he thought that he was like, why? Like I want to send the message of like these things don't matter. And I'm like, but I think to the average person, I don't mean average like an average human. I mean like most people. I think those things matter. They need to see you not dressed like a hobo, like shave once a week, like drive a car that has all 4 tires. Like it's just like they want you to, like, as the person in charge, they want you to have basic sense of like, I have my life together. Like, because they're giving you their money and they're like, am I just giving this guy money to like shove up his nose or something? Like what is he do? What are they doing? Like they want to make sure, oh, he's competent, or she.
Without a doubt. We used to have these quarterly meetings where basically it was about like everybody got like 5 minutes to just say the honest truth as they saw it, and there would be no repercussions. It was this like little go for it session. And I remember one of the people on the team said, my goal this year is that you get a new car, Carl. My goal for me personally is that I don't see you show up in that car anymore.
Wow.
That's how I feel about that car and what it says about our company.
Well, that's the thing. You're representing everyone you work for.
Man,
right?
And exactly. And I felt like I don't want to look like I'm wasting the money that the team is creating. But that's the thing. It is their money. It is your money, but you're taking all the risk. And that's where it becomes a conversation that when somebody steps up and wants more, you have to be able to say, okay, these are the ways that you can do that. But the other thing is to be able to say, you know what? And I've said this a few times, and I think once I said it from a good place and twice I said it with the snark, which was, that sounds amazing. I think you need to start your own company.
Right.
I think it's time. And you know what? 2 of those 3 did.
Yep.
And one of those 2 is crushing it still.
Well, that's a great legacy.
Yeah.
That's a great legacy for you. I mean,
that's what I tell people. The best people in the world don't work here anymore.
The very growth mindset ability to be thankful for the people who've left and created a great legacy for you. I mean, because you wouldn't want everybody that doesn't work for you now to be somewhere else and be like a total asshole and like they crushed this company. This company's not around anymore because they hired this guy. Like that's all those fuckers that came from Engine. They just like ruin our shit. That's the opposite of what you want.
That is. And Gene, you've given me 2 compliments today after I insulted you in the cold open. So I just want to say I will be insulting you more. What about your hot take? You told me at the beginning, you're like, I got a hot take today. You were like, oh, you're ready to go.
I've got one. So, these T-shaped people, what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
People that have deep knowledge in something, but then a lot of great knowledge. So I'm sure you probably know this, and everybody that's in the bureau knows this because they're all smart people. I'm not. So it's the first time I heard this.
You're in the bureau. Come on now.
You know the old saying, a jack of all trades, a master of none?
Yeah.
When we say that to people, we usually say it sarcastically.
Yeah.
The actual entire saying is a jack of all trades, a master of none, but oftentimes it's better than one. So it's actually a compliment. It means people with experience across a
Oh.
wide spectrum of abilities are far superior to the person who's just a specialist in one thing.
Well, I mean, that makes perfect sense. And I remember, I guess it was at Converge one year. You had Daniel Burka, and he gave this talk on generalists over specialists and why Google was so into generalists now.
It's funny,
and
right?
I think that's really amazing. And I love that is the full saying. I never knew that.
Well, good, because I was like, shit, why didn't I know that?
No, I didn't know that. It's like pro bono. Do you know what the full phrase is? Pro bono publica. Okay. For the good of the people.
Ooh.
Not just for the good of.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, could you do this pro bono for me? No, you're not the people.
Right. I know you want a free
website, sports franchise.
Yeah. Right. It's funny. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting because one of the earlier shows we talked about how both of our businesses we transitioned from like that early on, like heavy animation, drawing, flash-based stuff to web standards to deep database work. And I know that that's all basically website shit, but it's really very, very different. And the only way we got there is because we had people who were generally interested in the whole spectrum of web development and not just one thing. And everybody I know that was just really deep into animation stuff, they're not building websites anymore.
No. Well, it's so funny because, and I know we're at time here, but when HTML5 showed up with animation, all the Flash people were like, "We told you, we told you it was good." Why'd you go and kill my baby? Why'd you kill my baby? I love Flash
because it didn't work, but whatever.
Well, okay, so
the iPhone killed it.
It was impossible to find anything. Sure.
Yeah, usability and.
Yeah, search, whatever. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see animation make a comeback and then go away again.
Yes.
Hey, 5 years from now, it'll be the hottest thing going.
It will. Yes, it will be. Yeah. All right, Gene.
I want to apologize for what I said at the beginning of the show.
It'll be edited out. Don't worry
about you. Wait, mother.
But I accept your apology.
All right, brother. I will see you next week.